Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Mindfully Curious podcast. My name is Steph, and I am so happy to be here. Season 3. I'm here wrapping up season 3. Been making this podcast for a year now, which is just crazy to me because it seems like no time has passed. And yet, so much has happened, so much has changed. When the podcast started, we were still in quarantine, kind of. So we were in the thick of that. And now we are in the midst of the world opening back up. And I do have big, goofy fucking air quotes going on here. And I want to speak on that for a minute, because this is, of course, a subject that we touched on many of the podcasts. And that was quarantine and what COVID did for us and our creativity. I am so interested to hear your take on this. But it seemed like the whole quarantine forced us to take a beat and really dive into ourselves and get clear with ourselves on what we value and how much we value it. And that starts with the thing most of us spend most of our time doing, which is talking to ourselves in our head. But seriously, work really got a lot of us the time to consider where we are putting our energy. And speaking about energy, I want to bring in a clip from the episode with my girl Annalise, where we talk about how anxiety can easily be reframed into excitement.
Because I get anxiety or maybe excitement constantly, and I do think that I have kind of been phrasing it in my mind as anxiety, when really that energy and that like maybe it can be channeled in a positive way.
So I want to pick up on this subject of energy. And you may be thinking, WTF are you talking about? And what I mean by energy is, at the end of the day, we are made of atoms, and those things have components. And some of those components just happen to be electrical things: neutrons, protons, electrons, energy. So we're meat sacks powered by energy in some way. And that's all I mean by energy. I'm literally talking about the scientific physics definition of energy, which honestly, maybe I should just look up in my favorite book, the motherfucking dictionary. All right, so dictionary says energy, the strength and vitality required for sustained physical or mental activity. Power derived from the utilization of physical or chemical resources, especially to provide light and heat or to work machines. So energy is what you are powered by. And I'm going to bring my girl, Tiffany Mertens, at Mystic Mentorship, the first guest of this season 3. And she talks about how music can really help us tune into, let's say, the vibe that our energy is on, and how not only we can tune into it, but kind of flow with it and transmute it into other types of experiences. Because energy is not just going to kill it at a CrossFit gym. Energy can also look like a really fun, sexy fire dance act.
And it's just really allowing yourself to surrender to the present moment. And the ecstatic is just the feeling that you get. Like you're so blissed out through the journey, because typically the music starts kind of low and then it takes you into this like big peak where you've got all this energy and you're just like lit up. Like you can feel energy radiating out of your body.
Yeah, so on this clip, we were talking specifically about ecstatic dance because she does host ecstatic dance ceremonies, basically over Zoom, in real life, whatever. Ecstatic dance is you showing up to a container that's been curated to guide you through a dancing experience of moving energy. And the main thing about ecstatic dance is that you're not drinking and you're not out there like trying to show off your twerking skills. Or maybe you are, I don't know, whatever. But it's basically dancing and moving where the energy goes. We're like allowing your body to flow without really judging yourself and comparing yourself. And whenever I think about judging yourself and comparing yourselves, I think about culture shock and how where we or the way we grew up, what we grew up around, kind of conditions us to what we feel is a baseline operating normal, let's call it, and how getting ourselves out of those environments and into new experiences can do crazy things for our creativity. And for this one, I'm going to bring a clip with my girl, Nikki Styles, talking about culture shock.
But now I'm just like, hey, whatever, man. Like you can't help who you love, and that was the biggest culture shock for me. And just like another thing that really caught me off guard was like the homeless.
So let's talk about homelessness. It's an issue, and lots of friends who are in California has a really high homeless population. Probably because the weather there is banging most of the time and people can live outdoors. But the whole point with bringing up the homeless is that building of an environment and how we think about when I say homeless, what is your gut reaction? Are you like, I want to go help them? Or are you like, ew? Regardless, let's go back to judge. Let's not judge, because whatever reaction you have is okay. And it doesn't really matter as long as you are aware. And maybe reflect on the reaction that comes up and why. Because I have had some bad experiences with homeless people in Denver where I felt threatened. And because of that, for a long time, I carried trauma. So when I would see a homeless person approaching me, I would get nervous. I would get anxious. But remember, we're talking about energy and that whole reframe. So maybe instead, when I see a homeless person now, I will feel excited that perhaps I can make some sort of difference in this person's life. And here's my friend, Chad Watson, talking about his philanthropy work in LA and how he really enjoys and gets so much positive vibes from helping the homeless population where he lives.
Oh man, altruism. I love it. It's such a natural high for me. Giving back. It doesn't necessarily have to be even seen or like food to a homeless person. Oh man, I love that. I just love it. It's something about it. It's a natural. I feel like if you're blessed enough to do it, you should. I think that everybody has a responsibility. And I think that if you don't feel that way, Again, I don't judge people, but I don't. I feel like if you're young, you have any sort of platform, and it's the whole cliche: too much is given, much is tested. And I feel like that if you're blessed enough and in a position to do things and give back, you should. I mean, I do it all the time. Can't even tell you all the time, but it just feels good too.
So, needless to say, this kind of brings me back to energy. And, well, we are all made out of the same parts. So, what can we do to really see ourselves in each other and bring up kindness and the best that we can in every situation, even challenging ones? And for this one, I'm going to bring my wise brother, Dan Olson, and he's going to be talking about being open-minded, coming in as a student.
Build on collaboration, right? Instead of coercion. And so it's collaborative for us to all show up as students. And when we show up as good students, every student in the room instantly becomes a great teacher. And that's something we try to really honor and celebrate with every room that we.
Hell yeah, collaboration and showing up with an open mind and an open heart. I love that. And I love that so much because creativity is my life's calling. And now we're really going to start talking about that. Collaboration and creativity, in my opinion, are great tools for this ultimate mission that I hope we all have in some shape, way, or form. And that is to make the world a better place for all. A really big golden nugget, and I'm sorry for the dogs, they're really hype about creativity as well. But the biggest golden nugget out of this clip with Dan is that idea of how do we collaborate? How do we get out of this mindset of I coerce somebody into adopting my style or my way of thinking, my system, and how do we turn to collaboration instead, where we both bring the best we have and then create something new, something that's going to solve an old problem, something amazing. And to speak a little bit more on this point, I want to bring up the word decolonize, which if you listen to my episode with my sister Itzy Ramirez, we talk about how decolonization is you giving yourself the chance to think outside the box, to go outside of the system rules and see what comes up for you. So here's a clip with my sister Itzy, and we're talking about decolonizing design and where the root of all design comes from and how that may not be the most diverse solution for all problems.
It's just very, and it's still, in design, a lot of the big designers come from Europe, and a lot of the trends that we see, we're always looking at what Europeans are doing because that's the newest cool thing.
So, how are you guys feeling about this format? I don't know. I figured I'd get creative, use some of the clips because, man, these guests drop some fire, and I love the chance to get to replay some of those memorable moments. I am bummed out that I am not going to be able to have a clip of every single episode, but that is okay. This is the first time I've done this, so I'm taking it easy. I would love your feedback, aka that's how we collaborate. Your feedback is part of a collaboration because when you share your opinion, your truth, you really are contributing to making the narrative change. So, yeah, I hope that listening to these episodes has been inspiring for you, at least a fraction of how inspiring this whole podcast experience has been for me. I love that I get to practice talking, communicating, expressing, reflecting. It's awesome. Honestly, if nobody else listened, it would be okay. And it is okay because this is in a way like therapy for me. It's like journaling, but I don't have to use my wrist. I can just put my headphones on, sit in front of the microphone, the computer, and riff. That, of course, is if my dogs aren't being super needy, like you can hear them in the background all the time, and being like, come on, let's go outside. Because yes, when I'm not working, we're basically just hanging out outside, sunning our beautiful dog bodies out there, enjoying the cool breeze, enjoying the 87% humidity and 87 degrees Fahrenheit here in Charleston, South Carolina, where we live right now. All right, y'all. It has been a absolute pleasure to create these 41 episodes. It has been such a learning experience, and if you are wondering what is coming up next season, well, I guess I can share a little bit about that. So, I'm gonna start by saying that I have joined a program called Fit for Service, and it's a 4-month experience that culminates in a week-long retreat. And this experience is curated for people who want to push their edges, learn about themselves, and how to really, again, push your edge in a healthy way that is aligned with your mind, body, and spirit. So in a very holistic way. Yeah, when I started describing the experience, you were literally like pushing your edges, WTF. Y'all know I'm kind of a wankster, so I'm not gonna go do anything too wild. But this experience has been pretty transformative this far. It's been a couple months, and I have gotten the chance to reflect so much on myself and how, wow, I don't know, there's so many characters that I am inspired by, and ultimately how I make all of that into my own special sauce, aka my life. And that's something that we all get to do. I'm pretty sure that's the meaning of life, or the purpose of us being alive, is that we are here to self-express. So, that being said, a lot of my content coming up is going to be inspired by this experience. And it is very possible that a lot of the upcoming guests are going to be people that have gone through this experience with me. And I will probably be using some of the podcast episodes to reflect on it with my fellow comrades. So that's one thing. The second thing is I am working on a art drop. I don't like to call them art shows. I'm calling this one an art drop. The reason I don't want to call it an art show is because art shows are kind of not very exciting. And in my humble opinion, since the Renaissance, it carries a lot of stigma. And maybe I should do a whole episode on that. But basically, I read this book called Rogues Gallery one time. And after reading that book, I was like, oh my goodness. Like, the system is so rigged. And we are basically enslaving our creativity for the system by jumping into this bus that has been already going, again, since about the Renaissance. very complex issue. But my solution for this very complex issue has been to create a very complex art drop. And 1-800-FREEDOM is going to be a pre-sale of 23 prints. The main drop is going to be 6 NFTs that are going to be backed by a real piece of art as well as an NFT piece, which I think is amazing, but I am really biased. I will also have 6 fine art pieces, aka farts, not tied to NFTs, just because I wanna have half of my stuff be new school and then half of my stuff be old school. And I love surprises and objects, so I will have 3 collector's items that will be unlocked after the first 12 pieces come out. And then, because I love hood rat activity and streetwear, hip hop, I just fucking love the culture, y'all. And for my people, I am going to be dropping a few pieces of merch that I'm still working out, because I want to make them super special, not just something you can drop ship and get. So there's going to be a lot of thought, a lot of symbolism, a lot of meaning embedded into all of these sheets. So anyway, I'm going to be working on that. So I will be sending updates probably on social media. But I would like to share the teaser for the show with you. And again, this riff is 1-800-FREEDOM, inspired by Richard Rudd, the 55th gene key, and what freedom means to me. Feel it. The mystery in its odd timing. Breathe deeply. This is a time where matter falls in love with spirit. This odyssey from underworlds to pure air of freedom. The world where romance becomes reality, where we rise in love rather than fall in it. This is what I believe freedom to be. The dragonfly. Super stoked to continue to share more of that with you. All right, the last thing is mindfully creative. I will be doing lots of workshops this summer. Creative You coming up the soonest. Probably going to be hosting at least 2 of those workshops in the next 60 days. And I hope to introduce a follow-up to it as well. It is possible we are going to be collaborating with Sada Collective on a few events coming to the LA area later this year, probably around fall. So lots of things to look forward to. And remember, if you're listening to this and you feel a strong vibe of, I want to be part of this, I want to collaborate, I want to learn more, I want to know more, I want to ask questions, I encourage you to reach out. I would love to hear your ideas, your questions, your reflections. I really do value and welcome all of that. Okay, this feels weird. It's not goodbye, but it definitely is. I'll see you later. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna miss you. And I would say I'm gonna miss this, but although I'm not gonna be recording interviews, I'm still gonna be working on this in some way, because I'm always thinking about my projects and writing down ideas and journaling about them. Some could say my creative process is a wild romantic experience. And by some, Of course, I mean me. Ugh, saying goodbye is so hard. Anyway, I'll see you later. I love you. I'll miss you. Make sure you keep in touch.